Hi, this is Nick Sutton, and I'm delighted to have been offered my fourth ACC film to direct. This film is entitled Preparing for an Inspection. It's a UK-only programme at advanced level, and it's aimed at managers and senior care home staff. So, first off, what are the learning outcomes for this course? Firstly, define the common types of inspection in the care home setting. Give a brief overview at just about 15% of the film. And it's important as we need to ensure that this is recognised as more than just regulatory inspections. Secondly, identify effective strategies to prepare all members of the team for an inspection. This will take up about 35% of the film. Thirdly, recognise the role of each team member in participating in an effective inspection. It's about 35%. So learning outcomes 2 and 3 will form the bulk of the course as we focus on a plan to review approach. Fourthly, identify your role in ensuring the inspection visit leads to quality improvement. This is about 15% as a brief recognition of the need for a continuous improvement approach to inspections. The programme will be structured and chaptered around these 4 learning outcomes to ensure that we reflect the flow in a logical order. The overall message and aim of the film is to show that you can be inspection ready at any time, and that by incorporating some of the practical strategies outlined in this film, you can motivate your team to be inspection ready. Inspections don't have to be a drama or something that is feared by staff. Firstly, we have an expert who will deliver our VO and pieces to camera. The expert we have is Jill Timms. Now, she's an independent care consultant and quality assurance manager at Perivale Court Care Home. She's also a registered nurse, and she's worked with us at ACC to support our BDM in her field and has an in-depth knowledge of the UK inspection regime. Secondly, we will use real-life experiences from interviewees. Now, we've identified a number of people that we think would be excellent interviewees for this programme. Firstly, Jill Robinson. She's a registered manager for ACC members Angel Care, and who as part of a recent testimonial recording gave us some excellent content that we think would fit into this filming. Jill can identify staff who have been through her own training in how to prepare for an inspection. So what is the creative idea for this programme? Well, I personally wanted to incorporate a little bit of tension and a little bit of intrigue into the programme. You know, inspections can bring on a lot of tension and a lot of apprehension amongst care staff, and I wanted to play with this a little bit. So at the vision meeting last week, we came up with the idea of making the role of the inspector slightly mysterious. We don't see their face, we just see parts of their body, perhaps over their shoulder, perhaps just their feet, perhaps just their suitcase, picking out sort of elements but never showing exactly who they are. Not until the end of the programme, when we have a big reveal and we will see exactly who the inspector has been. So the programme will start with a Steadicam or Ronin camera following the inspector into the care home, through reception and on down corridors and into rooms. But we will never see exactly who the inspector is. Then, using a sort of graphic surveillance style effect that you might see in the sort of opening credits of various TV programmes like CSI or Person of Interest, we will pick out details that the inspector might notice as they walk around the building. This will convey the fact that the inspector, just like all of us, forms first impressions and collects data as soon as they arrive. We will be careful that we are clear that an inspector is not forming judgments at this stage, and that's important. We will use some classic kind of tension-building music, and quite cliched music in a way, to underscore this sequence in order to play with the idea that the inspector is a mysterious person. This strong, layered, graphic surveillance type effect will be used throughout the film on people's lower third nameplates, and also in chapter headings and bullet points that we need to make throughout the film. So, back to the Ronin camera. As we move down the corridors, the text will highlight staff members, their names, some information about them, as they say hello to us and as they greet us. And the text will acknowledge their friendly greeting. Through cut shots, we will see the inspector's feet, maybe. Text will highlight the contrast between the carpet and the skirting as beneficial to people with dementia, for instance. and that we travel along with the care worker as the care worker looks back at us. And in voiceover we were told it's natural to be nervous about the idea of an inspection, the sense of being scrutinised. The VO also reassures us that the inspector is not here to scare staff or to catch them out. After the programme title, Preparing for an Inspection, we will cut back to Jill in camera now as she introduces herself and gives us an overview of her current job and as she outlines the course content. It's all about helping the viewer to ensure that they and their team are inspection ready. She will elaborate and articulate the importance of being inspection ready every day. We will then see Jill interacting with some of the staff and residents of the care home. We then cut to our first sting, types of inspection. We have our two main interviewees, Jill Robinson and Samantha Ashley Barclay, outlining the types of inspections that might occur and the agencies involved. The dynamic surveillance text gives us information here about the interviewees and supports their words with captions, e.g. Regional Regulatory Inspectorates. Jill then explains that all inspections are essentially looking at 4 elements. 1. Safe care. 2. Person-centred care. 3. Clear recording processes. And 4. Good housekeeping. Through brief enacted vignettes, such as the manager discussing with the team that everybody knows their role within the inspection, plus interview pieces from Jill Robinson and Samantha Ashley Barclay, plus VO from Jill Timms, we are given examples of preparation for these 4 elements. The consistent message here is that any inspector is looking for everyday care done well. We will look at examples of these 4 elements in practice. For instance, let me explain. 1. Safe care. A manager and a senior discuss the imminent recruitment to address the staffing level issue, for instance. The recruitment might not be completed before an inspector arrives, but it's a problem and it's okay to discuss this with the inspector and to give them the impression that you are aware of the problem and here is the evidence of what we're doing to try and resolve it. Secondly, person-centred care. We see the achievements file, including a project that's been undertaken with a resident to overcome an issue they may have had about incorporating themselves within the care home, integrating themselves with the care home, I should say. Thirdly, clear recording processes. Ensuring records are accurate, up-to-date and usable can sometimes be overlooked. Remembering an inspection could happen at any time can motivate us to ensure that everybody plays their part in professional recording. We may look to highlight the records of an incident or accident and the handover notes. All this needs to be ready for inspection at any time. By keeping these records up to date, the team essentially is inspection ready. Fourthly, good housekeeping. We could have footage here of a manager checking with a kitchen supervisor that the fridges and etc. are clean, that surfaces are wiped down. It'd be important here to reflect that it may be a health and safety inspection, for instance, but in any inspection, all members of staff will be involved. Then we will come to our second sting. The dynamic surveillance effect now comes back with full force. We see the outcome of the preparation as the dynamic surveillance text highlights good practice, again under the headings of the 4 elements that I've mentioned above. For instance, the vision and text highlights clean aprons in the kitchen or clean work surfaces and that type of thing. The effect then can fade and we will see a brief vignette where the kitchen supervisor discusses with the manager or an assistant to clean the work surfaces as they were not quite looking up to the usual standard. There's no reference to the inspection here, we just see that staff are taking pride in having a clean kitchen. And if it's clean all the time, then it's ready for inspection at any time. We see a normal care interaction between staff and a resident. And we can have an interview here with an actual resident who speaks briefly about the positive experience of staff communications. The dynamic surveillance text here gives appropriate and agreed identifying information about the resident. For this section we will go back to the over-the-shoulder shot with the care staff talking back to camera as though they're talking to the inspector, sharing the achievements file and crucially meeting the inspector at the door appropriately and confidently. At no point Here, do we see the inspector's face? We're just keeping up the intrigue of who they are. And we need to make sure here that we get across the point that each country in the UK has different regulators and different health and safety inspection regimes. So the final section, Sting, will appear with the title After an Inspection. We're using brief reenactments of a debrief actually happening. We'll use Jill in VO as she outlines, various approaches and the importance of an honest but blame-free debrief. And we'll use some little vignettes in the background, importantly showing different staff members interacting together and discussing the inspection process and how they can improve their practices. In the final sequence, we return to our over-the-shoulder shot following this mysterious inspector out of the building as the manager escorts them after the inspection is finished. Just as the inspector is about to leave, they turn to camera and reveal who they actually are. And it's Jill Timms, our expert. In a final piece to camera, Jill will tell us about her life as an inspector and that she now conducts mock inspections. And what inspectors are really looking for is everyday care done well. And in a final call to action, she will ensure and get the message across to the viewer that being inspection ready is the best way to be ready for an inspection.